Hey, horror fans. This is Matt here. I do the stories for the channel. And quick note before today's story is I really could use your guys' help trying to figure out the direction of the channel. It's still really new, and I know it's asking a lot to have people comment, because that seems to be very hard these days. But yeah, if I could get any constructive criticism on things you'd like to see, either where the story goes or anything of that nature, or if you like my voice versus the AI voiceover, let me know. It is hard to get the AI's voice to be consistent, um, so that's why sometimes it seems like it's different, but it is the actual same voice. Um, but yeah, uh, I'd really like to be able to bring y'all the stories that you deserve and want to hear, but it's very hard to gauge what's good and what's not sometimes. So yeah, just a little quick note here. Hope you enjoy the story, and like I said, if you enjoy it, please like it, um, and yeah, let me know what you want to see in these videos, whether or not you like the still images versus the video uh, images. It all helps. But yeah, enjoy the story today, and we'll hopefully have another one here in a day or two. But thanks and enjoy the story. The road had been empty for hours, just us, the trees, and a sky that couldn't decide whether it was day or night. Mia sat up front, tracing lines through the fogged glass. Samantha was asleep against the door, her camera still in her hands. We weren't running from anything. At least, that's what I told myself. After the fire, after the forest, we just needed distance. Someplace that didn't smell like smoke or sound like sirens. When the engine started to rattle and the heat gauge crept into red, we pulled over. That's when we saw it. A wooden sign, half rotted and leaning in the grass. Hallow Hill Inn. Vacancy. Place out of time. Mia gave a tired laugh. You have got to be kidding. This looks like the start of every bad horror movie. Yeah, I told her, but it's also the only place with a roof. We followed the gravel path up a long, slow hill. The house waited at the top, pale and quiet, its porch light flickering like it was running out of courage. When we cut the engine, even the crickets stopped. An older woman stepped onto the porch, wiping her hands on a flour-dusted apron. She smiled, though it looked like effort. You folks look like you could use a rest, she said. Her name was Mags Kettering, and she ran the place alone. Inside, the air smelled like cedar and something faintly metallic. The wallpaper was yellowed at the edges, and a row of keys hung on hooks that looked untouched for years. Mia nudged me. Tell me again why we didn't just sleep in the car? Because this one comes with coffee, I said. Standing there in the warm lamplight, listening to the floorboards creak, I almost believed we'd found peace. Then I noticed the radio on the counter, an old one, humming softly with static. I thought about turning it off, but I didn't. If I had been paying attention, I would have realized that that was our first warning. That first night at Hollow Hill had a heaviness to it, not the kind that came from fear, just the kind that settles in after too many sleepless miles. Mag showed us to our rooms, two across the hall, one at the end. Mia and I took the middle one, and Samantha chose the one across from us. She didn't say much while we unpacked. Dinner was simple: soup, bread, and coffee that had been sitting too long on the stove. The kitchen was small, warm, but somehow still felt cold around the edges. A single light swayed above the table, making everything move just a little when you looked too long. Mia tried to break the silence. So, what now? We stay a few days, figure out where to go next? I nodded. Yeah, just long enough to breathe. Samantha stared at her bowl. "He would have liked this place," she said quietly. Mia looked up. "Who, Criss?" Sam gave a small nod, still not meeting our eyes. He hated cities, said the noise made him feel trapped. She smiled, but it was the kind of smile that's already halfway to breaking. If he had made it out, he'd probably be laughing at us right now. None of us knew what to say to that. The sound of the wind pressed against the windows, low and steady. Later, when we went upstairs, the fog outside had swallowed the trees. The old wood floors moaned under every step. In our room, Mia wrapped the blanket around her shoulders. "You think she's okay?" she whispered. I nodded. "She's strong. She just needs time." We left the lamp on low, just enough to see the outline of the door. The inn was quiet except for the occasional pop of old boards shifting in the cold. I was just starting to drift off when I heard it. A soft tapping inside the wall. 3 knocks, a pause, then 3 more. Mia tensed beside me. "That's not the pipes." I exhaled, listening. Probably just settling. Old houses, you know. But the tapping came again, this time slower, heavier, like something was testing how thin the wall really was. And from across the hall, I thought I heard a quiet sound. A sob. Then silence. Morning came, gray and quiet. The fog hadn't lifted. It just sat over the inn like a second roof. The smell of coffee led us downstairs. Mags was already at the stove, stirring something in a dented pot that hissed when it boiled over. She gave us a polite smile. "Sleep all right?" "Mostly," I said. "The house makes a lot of noise." Mags chuckled softly. Old places like this remember their bones. Every nail's got a story. Then she turned away before I could say anything else. Samantha was sitting near the window, camera in hand, staring out at the fog. Her eyes were red, but she was pretending to not notice. Mia poured 2 cups of coffee and slid one across to her. "You okay?" Sam nodded. "Yeah, just had a dream about him again." I heard his voice. She laughed under her breath, no joy in it. Funny, right? How your mind fills in the silence when it misses someone. Mia reached across the table and touched her hand. "You'll see him again. You'll get that closure." Sam's smile faded. Closure's not really what I'm hoping for. For a while, nobody said anything. The only sound was the faint hum of the old radio on the counter, playing static between stations. Every few seconds it popped, like someone was touching the dial but never committing to a channel. I stood near it, listening. The rhythm of it was strange. Not random, not constant. A few short bursts, then silence. A few long ones. Max must have noticed me staring, because she spoke up without looking over. "Reception's never been good up here. The hills block most signals." Mia called from the table. "Then what's it picking up?" Mags didn't answer. Outside, something brushed against the front window. Soft, like a coat sleeve in the wind. Samantha looked up. "Did you see that?" I went to the glass, but the fog was so thick I couldn't see the tree line. Just white, stretching out forever. When I turned back, Samantha was holding her camera, flipping through the photos from the night before. Her hand froze on one of them. "Guys, come look at this." Mia leaned over her shoulder first. "What am I looking at?" Samantha swallowed. "There, in the reflection." The photo showed the front lobby. Mags behind the counter, me near the door. But in the window, half hidden by glare, there was someone standing on the porch. Tall, thin, shoulders hunched forward like they were pressed against the glass. I stepped closer. Could be a trick of the light. Sam shook her head. Maybe, but I didn't use flash. The room went still for a moment. The radio crackled again. Short, long, long, short, then cut out completely. Mags broke the silence. You folks best stay inside tonight, she said softly. Things get lost in the fog. She didn't smile that time. By late afternoon, the fog had thinned just enough to see the outline of the road again. Mag said it was fine to stretch our legs. Just don't go far, she warned. The trails twist when the light goes down. We followed the gravel drive until the trees opened up into a narrow clearing. That's when we saw them, a pair of hikers standing beside an old red SUV with the hood propped open. The guy waved when he spotted us. Hey, you folks staying at the inn too? He looked maybe our age, short brown hair, backpack still half on his shoulders. The girl beside him leaned against the car, grinning. If it counts as staying, yeah, we just got here and already broke down. Mia smiled. Welcome to the neighborhood. They introduced themselves, Evan and Lacey. They had been hiking the border trail for a few days, heading west before the storm caught them. Evan laughed when I told him about the fog. Yeah, it rolled in quick. I swear, it was clear 10 minutes ago. He tapped the SUV's hood. Guess that's karma for bragging about my driving. Samantha actually smiled at that, the first time I'd seen her do so in days. Lacey noticed. You okay? You look like you've been through it. Sam hesitated. Yeah, just a long week. Lacey's expression softened. I get that. Evan wiped his hands on his jeans and nodded toward the inn. Mag still running the place? My dad stayed here when he was a kid. Said it hasn't changed much. That got my attention. You've heard of it? Sure, he said. Locals say it's one of those old traveler stops that just refuses to die. Mia raised an eyebrow. Comforting. We helped him get the car started, turned out to be nothing more than a loose wire, and walked back together. The conversation felt easy for once. Samantha told a story about how Criss used to fix her camera by hitting it, and for the first time since we got here, she laughed like she meant it. By the time we reached the porch, the sun had dipped behind the trees again. The fog crept back in like it had been waiting for us to notice. Evan looked out across the road. You ever get the feeling this place doesn't want to be found? Lacey elbowed him. Don't start. It's just fog. Maybe she was right. But as we stepped back into the inn and the door shut behind us, I couldn't shake the feeling that the air inside had changed, a little colder and a little heavier. Dinner that night felt almost normal. Mag served stew this time. Thick, smoky, better than I expected. Evan joked about starting a review blog for accidental roadside cuisine, and even Mags cracked a smile. For a little while, we were just 6 tired people sharing a table. Mia was laughing. Lacey was asking questions about our trip. Samantha even leaned into the conversation instead of retreating from it. It almost felt like we managed to outrun the weight of everything behind us. When the plates were empty and the coffee started cooling, Mag stood. Try to get some rest, she said softly. Weather's turning again. Wind'll come down hard from the ridge. I nodded. Thanks for dinner. She didn't answer. She just turned the radio off on her way out. Evan stretched and yawned. We'll check the SUV tomorrow. Make sure she still runs. He looked at me. If we get her going, we can give you guys a lift into town. Mia smiled. That'd be amazing. Samantha didn't say anything. She was staring toward the staircase, like she was listening to something I couldn't hear. Later, after everyone had gone upstairs, I stayed in the hallway a minute longer. The floorboards clicked under my feet, and I thought I heard something else under them. Faint, like nails dragging across wood. In our room, Mia was already in bed, reading from her phone. Evan snores, she said, smirking. You can hear him through the wall. Could be worse, I told her. At least it's proof we're not the only ones here. I changed, turned off the light, and climbed in beside her. The wind outside picked up, whistling through the cracks in the window frame. Then I heard it again, that same dragging sound. Slow, uneven, coming from under the floorboards this time. Mia frowned. That's not the wind. I leaned over the edge of the bed, listening. The sound stopped, then started again, closer to the door. Samantha's voice came from the hall, sharp and quiet. Tyler? I opened the door. She stood there barefoot and pale in the low light. Did you hear it too? She asked. Before I could answer, Evan's door opened across the hall. He rubbed his eyes. If you're hearing scratching, yeah, it's not just you. We all stood there a moment, half awake, trying to pinpoint where it was coming from. The sound moved again, up the wall, into the ceiling, then gone. Lacey spoke next, barely above a whisper. Tell me that's mice. No one did. None of us slept much after that. Every time the building settled, every groan in the walls made us all freeze. By morning it felt like the whole inn was holding its breath right along with us. Mags acted like nothing had happened. She poured coffee, asked about breakfast, smiled when she didn't need to, but she avoided the floorboards, near the pantry, stepped around them like she knew exactly which ones would creak. Evan leaned close to me as we sat down. You ever notice that she never goes down to the cellar? I frowned. There's a cellar? He nodded toward the hallway. Door behind the pantry. Locked. Mia caught the look we shared. You're not actually thinking of checking, are you? Evan shrugged. If there's something scratching under the floor, that's where it's coming from. Samantha set her coffee down hard enough to slosh it over the rim. Maybe we just leave it alone. Not everything needs investigating. Her tone wasn't angry, just tired, raw. Mia reached for her hand, but she pulled it back. Sam, I said quietly. It's probably an animal. We'll take a quick look, that's all. She didn't answer. She just stared into her cup like she could see something moving in it. Later that afternoon, when Mags went into town for supplies, Evan found the key. It was hanging behind the register on a rusty hook, half hidden under a pile of receipts. He grinned at me. You coming? I sighed, already regretting it. Yeah, let's get this over with. The door was heavier than I expected. Thick wood, iron latch, smelled like oil and rot when it opened. The air that came out was cold enough to sting. Mia stayed at the top of the stairs. I don't like this, she said. Evan clicked his flashlight. 2 minutes. If it's rats or raccoons, we can tell Mags and be done. The steps creaked under our weight. The deeper we went, the colder it got. Dust hung in the light like smoke. At the bottom, we found shelves lined with jars. Old ones. Labels faded, something black inside that didn't look like food. Wooden crates were stacked in the corner, marked with numbers I didn't recognize. Evan crouched beside one and brushed off the dust. You ever hear of a company called Vale Logistics? I shook my head. No, why? He pointed to the logo, a faded triangle with 3 small circles under it. It's on every box. Before I could answer, we both heard it. A soft shuffle from behind the crates. Not loud, not fast, just movement. Evan aimed his light toward the sound, and for a second I thought I saw something. Not clear, just the impression of a shape ducking out of sight. Mia called down from the stairs, voice tight. Guys, what was that? Evan didn't answer. He was already moving closer to the crates. When he reached out to touch me, the scratching started again. Loud, right beneath our feet this time. He jumped back, light shaking. Okay, that's not rats. We stared at each other. both trying to act braver than we felt. Mia's voice came again, sharper now. Tyler, get up here. I grabbed Evan's arm. Let's go. We climbed the stairs two at a time, slammed the door shut, and turned the latch. For a long moment, none of us said a word. Then, from the other side of the door, something dragged across the wood. Slow, steady, and deliberate. By nightfall, the wind had picked up again. You could feel it pushing against the old walls, making the shutters rattle like someone was trying to get in. No one said it out loud, but none of us wanted to be alone. We gathered in the lobby, coffee cups, flashlights, every light in the inn turned on. Even Mag sat with us, pretending to knit while her eyes kept drifting toward the pantry door. Evan couldn't sit still. We should just open it again, he said. See what's in there before it drives us crazy. Lacey shook her head. No way. Whatever's down there already knows we're here. Samantha was curled up in one of the chairs, her camera clutched to her chest. Criss would have gone down there, she said quietly. He'd never stop until he knew what that was. Evan sighed. Yeah, well, maybe that's exactly why we should. Mag set her knitting aside. Don't you dare, she said. Her voice was low but sharp, like a knife scraping a plate. You open that door again, and you'll remind it we're still here. The room fell silent. Then, from somewhere below, came a thud. Heavy, solid, like a crate tipping over. Mia's eyes went wide. Tell me that was the wind. Another thud, closer this time. Then came the scraping. Nails or claws on wood, climbing. Evan stood up, jaw set. That's it. I'm ending this. Before anyone could stop him, he crossed the room and yanked the cellar key from the wall. Evan, no! Lacey shouted, grabbing his arm. Please don't. He looked at her, the kind of look that's a half apology, half stubborn pride, and then turned the key. The latch clicked. The door creaked open. Cold air poured out, smelling of wet death, and something old enough to make my stomach turn. At first, nothing, just black. Then something moved. It hit Evan so fast we barely saw it. A gray blur, the sound of splintering wood, and then he was down. The flashlight rolled across the floor, cutting quick flashes through the chaos. A limb, a claw, something wet and sharp. Lacey screamed and ran toward him. I grabbed for her, but she was already there, pulling at his arm, shouting his name. The thing lunged again. Mag swung the fireplace poker and missed. The creature's claws caught Lacey across the shoulder. She stumbled, fell hard against the wall. Mia screamed her name. Evan crawled to her, trying to pull her back, but she was bleeding bad. Too bad. Her hand reached up for his, then went still. He froze, just stopped moving. Mag slammed the door, threw the latch, and jammed a chair under the handle. The silence afterward didn't feel real. Samantha was crying quietly, her voice barely holding together. Oh my God, Lacey. Evan pressed his forehead to the floor beside her. She tried to help me, he whispered. She didn't even think. From the other side of the door came a single sound, a long, dragging scrape followed by a soft thud. Then nothing. We didn't move for a long time. No one said a word. The only sound was the wind pushing against the walls, testing the windows. Evan sat on the floor beside the door, staring at the blood on his hands. Mia knelt next to him, whispering something I couldn't make out. Samantha stood a few feet back, shaking so hard the camera slipped from her fingers and hit the floor. Mags was the first to speak. Get your things, she said quietly. We're leaving before sunrise. Her voice didn't leave room for questions. Evan looked up, hollow-eyed. We can't just leave her down there. Mags didn't look at him. You try to go back in that cellar, and you'll join her. He pushed himself to his feet, swaying like he might fall again. She didn't deserve that. No one ever does, Mags said. Now go. We packed in silence. Every floorboard sounded too loud. Every drawer that opened made me flinch. When we stepped outside, the cold hit like a slap. The fog had thinned. but it still clung to the trees, heavy and low, curling around the inn like smoke. Evan stopped halfway to the SUV and looked back at the house. "Don't you want to burn it?" he asked Mags. She didn't hesitate. "Yes." He tossed her the lighter from his pack. She caught it, thumbed it once, and dropped it on the porch steps. The flame spread faster than I expected. Dry wood, old curtains, time, all of it ready to go. We stood there and watched it climb the walls, the orange light reflecting in the fog until it looked like the world was burning around us. Evan's voice was quiet, steady. "She tried to save me." Mia took his hand, but he didn't seem to feel it. When the roof finally gave in and the fire roared through the upper windows, Mags turned away. "That's enough." We left the road without looking back. By the time we reached the tree line, the sky was starting to pale, weak daylight struggling through the smoke. I don't remember anyone speaking after that. We drove for hours before anyone said a word. The fog followed us halfway down the mountain, and even when it cleared, it felt like we were still inside it. Mia finally broke the silence. "We should call the police." Samantha stared out the window. "And tell them what?" "That something in the cellar killed a girl and vanished?" Her voice cracked on the last word. No one answered. Evan hadn't spoken since we left. He just sat in the back seat, eyes red, hands clenched tight around Lacey's bracelet. When the sun came up, we stopped at a diner off the highway, the kind of place that smells like burnt coffee and grease no matter the hour. We looked like hell, dirty, hollow-eyed, shaking. The waitress didn't ask us questions. She just poured coffee and left the pot. Mia reached across the table. "Evan, you should eat something." He shook his head. "She always ordered pancakes. Said they tasted better when the syrup ran together in the middle." He tried to laugh, but it didn't make it past his throat. Sam finally spoke, her voice barely a whisper. "I still can't believe she's gone." Evan nodded slowly. "She saved me." I didn't know what to say. None of us did. After a while, Samantha reached for a camera. She kept it close, like a shield. She started flipping through the photos again, maybe to distract herself, maybe to look for something to prove it all wasn't real. Then she stopped. Her face went pale. Mia leaned in. "What is it?" Samantha turned the screen toward us. It was a photo from the night before, one of the lobby, taken just before everything went wrong. In the reflection of the window where Lacey had been standing, there was something behind her. Not clear, just a shape. Tall, thin, eyes catching the light. And next to it, faint but unmistakable, a hand. Human, reaching out towards her shoulder. Evan pushed the camera away. "Stop!" Samantha's voice trembled. "It wasn't there before." We all sat in silence after that, the hum of the diner lights filling the space where words used to be. When we finally left, Evan came with us. He didn't say it, but I think we all knew. He couldn't go back home. None of us really could.